This is shocking stuff, guys. What this guy's about to lay out, and this guy is one of the best traders out there right now. He's won a couple trading competitions and stuff like that. And he is he's an expert yield farmer, and I've seen him on a bunch of different shows. And here's the thing: I'm gonna start having people like this on my show on Patreon, and on my members, and so it's just gonna be a whole nother level to my show. Till then, let's really hear this guy out because it's insane, and I'll be commenting live. He's talking about shorting ETH again. Now he shorted ETH when we were all so bullish on ETH back in October, when ETH was like at 4,500 or something like that. When ETH was about to touch 5,000, this guy, this guy, right, shorted ETH at the highs against everybody, including me. I mean, I was like, oh, ETH to 10,000, ETH to 12,000, because Tom Lee is saying so. Tom Lee, you've been seeing me do videos on Tom Lee. I was bullish on Tom Lee until this video. This is shocking stuff. And he lays a very, very good case to why Ethereum is probably going to go down to like under $1,000 in the next couple months. That ETH, even at its price right now, is overpriced. And that Tom Lee has been pumping ETH this whole entire time. And he's done a great job doing it. But outside of Tom Lee buying ETH, there's nothing really, there's no buyers. They're just sellers. And Tom Lee is running out of money. He's running out of money. If you guys don't know who Tom Lee is, I'll show you. You guys know who Tom Lee is. I will show you. He is the CEO of Fundstrat, which is a firm that does analysis. So let's see here. Fundstrat, you'll see him here. So Tom Lee. This guy has been pumping ETH so hard. And what Taiki is going to talk about is that this guy is incentivized to do this. He's going to make millions of dollars getting ETH high as possible. And the worst part is, only to a certain point of time will he want to do this, and will he ever care to do this. And this video, he explains when Taiki thinks when Tom Lee is going to lose interest in ETH almost on the day, and where homie is going to pick up a multi-million-dollar check from BitMine, who is the stock that is the capital for Tom to buy ETH. You know, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of ETH. That money is coming from the shareholders of BitMine. So they're dumping BitMine on their shareholders. They're using that money, that cash, to buy ETH, and they're just hoarding ETH. They're trying to do the Michael Saylor thing, right? But it's almost like a carbon copy of what Michael Saylor's doing. And this dude looks like an absolute grifter. like he's coming in the crypto. Oh, I love crypto. Oh, he's coming from finance, right? But now he's coming into crypto. He's, oh, I love crypto. Crypto's amazing. In fact, we're gonna buy a ton of it. It's the new Wall Street, and it's the new oil. And I think Ethereum's going to $60,000 by the end of the year, or by the end of next year. And he said this year, remember, we were all bullish. This is how ETH pumped this past couple months. Is from Tom Lee saying, oh, ETH's going to $12,000 by the end of the year, and here's why. And he just starts gargling on ETH nuts. I don't know. Yeah, this guy's this guy comes from Wall Street, and he's selling so hard. So let's take a look at this, because this guy is going to tell you why he thinks ETH is going to go absolutely crazy down. And I'm so interested because I've made a lot of money on ETH meme coins the last few months. And this would change everything for me as I wait for ETH to pump. And he's telling, okay, let's take a look.
In this video, I'll explain why I decided to short $1 million of ETH again, because I think it's headed much lower. This is the agenda for the video, so let's get right. In the last 2 months, I made over $500,000 shorting ETH and alts from the market top. In this video, I'll explain why I decided to short $1 million of ETH again, because I think it's headed much lower. This is the agenda for the video, so let's get right into it. So for the past 2 months, I've been bearish the markets, and I've expressed that view by shorting ETH and also altcoins. And I've been back into the arena, so 10 days ago or ish, I re-entered my ETH shorts because I did close them a few weeks ago when it went to like 26.50 or so. But we had a bounce, and I am short again. Since I made that post on Twitter, I've added to my positions, and now my average entry is 31.33, roughly $1 million worth of value, and 56K or so in unrealized P&L. And I've been doing fairly well, just having a short bias. And if you're interested in more content and my live trades, make sure to check out the premium Discord.
He's got an open short on ETH at $1 million right now.
The link will be in the description below. So let's go over the ETH bear thesis recap. I spent 2 months on this, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. If you want like a deep dive, just watch my previous videos. I still think they're pretty relevant. But the part 1 of the ETH short was understanding that MSTR and Michael Saylor, they're out of money. Therefore, a Q4 pump is unlikely, especially after the October 10th liquidation event. So it made sense to short ETH above $4,000. That was a fairly simple trade. So yeah, MSTR, MNAV just keeps dwindling. It kind of reminds me of last cycle near the market top. And if Saylor can't buy, we lost one of the largest marginal buyers of Bitcoin, which is not great. And the question I posed my audience was, what happens to ETH and alts if the guaranteed Q4 pump doesn't materialize? Everything goes lower, right? That's kind of what happened. And October 10th was good, I guess, a catalyst for everything happening, because you should expect the fundamentals of ETH and the Solana and all these infra coins to get much worse once alts went down, because you should expect less DeFi TVL, because the reason to deploy capital on chain is for the yield, and the yield comes from altcoins. And you can see that, yes, just understanding the altcoin market can allow you to understand, I guess, or alts going down is kind of like a leading indicator of on-chain adoption, because after a big liquidation event, people are going to pull back capital. So now,
that was already shitty. He's saying as altcoins pretty much keep bleeding out, ETH will bleed out as well, because that's where all the liquidity is at. And honestly, the legitimacy, because all these altcoins sitting on top of ETH gives ETH legitimacy. Otherwise, what is ETH driving?
I think we're in part 2. I think, it's similar to part one. Tom Lee was always a part of shorting ETH because I just thought that he pumped it above fair value. So, shorting it back down made sense. But I still think he is propping up ETH, which makes it an interesting opportunity because I think once he is out of money or starts to run out of money, ETH will, actually converge to fair value. I do think ETH wants to go lower, but Tom Lee is preventing it from going lower. And at some point, he will run out of money. And
if you've been watching ETH like I have every day, ETH looks like it wants to go down so bad, but it just keeps popping up. And he's saying that's Tom Lee, but injecting millions into it, which he is. But eventually he's going to run out of money, and then what happens next?
The entire thing with DATs or digital asset treasury companies is, I don't like them, right? No one got into crypto wanting to study DATs. It's just that they are in control of the market, in my opinion. They are in control of the flows, the marginal flows in crypto. So we have to study them. And I think Tom Lee just pumped ETH a lot. And now that he's starting to buy less and less ETH over time, I think, ETH will converge to fair value. I don't know what fair value is, but it's probably going to be much lower. You can kind of see this is, I guess, Tom Lee activity, right? He just buys a lot above 4K. He's still buying a lot, honestly, which I've been really surprised by. But if you understand how DATs work, when crypto's going up, people pile into these things because it's very reflexive, right?
And when he says DATs, he's talking about digital asset treasuries. Digital asset treasuries. So these are just stock companies that are on the stock market that are just buying. Their only thing that they do is they're buying crypto, and namely Bitcoin and Ethereum. So when you see Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy's buying Bitcoin, they are the leading DATs, digital asset treasuries, that are buying Bitcoin, and that's the only thing that they're doing. And they're saying, hey, buy our stock because we're buying crypto, and we can pretty much represent you. So Tom Lee is representing BitMine, BMNR. They're now posturing as a digital asset treasury for Ethereum. So their only job is to buy Ethereum. BitMine really doesn't do anything else, which is scary in itself.
These DATs, they buy a lot on the way up, and then once things go down for a prolonged period of time, they can't really buy over a prolonged period of time. So it has been impressive, honestly, that he's been buying, but at some point, I think gravity will win over Tom Lee. To put it into context, Saylor bought over 30% of Bitcoin over 5 years and sent price from 10K to 85K, or whatever it is now. Tom Lee, he bought 3% of ETH, over 3% of ETH, over 5 months, right, in that condensed time period. And ETH went from 2.5 to 2.9K. So I think this slide alone kind of shows you everything you need to know about ETH, the asset. Whenever it just pumps, like OG holders just dump because it's like prime exit liquidity, and it's just like not that great of a hold, which has been my argument, the past few months. But let's talk about the Tom Lee effect, because I do think this is my opinion, right? And I'm kind of trading off of my opinion, but in markets, right, you get paid to have a contrarian opinion, and you execute by putting money on that trade, and if you're right, the market gives you more money, and you can reallocate that capital elsewhere. And my belief is that, if you look at these weekly buys, it's very, very impressive. Recently, he's been spending roughly $300 million of like cash to buy ETH every single week. In this environment, that's very, very impressive, right? Tom Lee, he is a wizard, honestly. And recently in the Binance Blockchain Week, he mentioned that ETH is bottomed, right? We thought ETH is bottomed, so we are buying more. They hired, he literally said this. We hired Tom DeMark to help us time our buys. He was very expensive, therefore he's very good. We're buying a lot more ETH because he thinks it's bottomed and it's going to $22,000 or so, right? Whatever this slide means. The fair value is 12K to 22K. Maybe he made a typo. I think the fair value, I think he should cut a zero from 12K to 22K, and that's probably like where fair value is. To each their own, right? Anyone can say whatever they want.
You said we should, maybe we should cut a zero.
Over the past few weeks or so,
shit,
we had this, I guess, phenomenon, or not really phenomenon, this environment where Tom Lee is vocally saying that we are buying a lot more ETH than we did before. So naturally, what that means is ETH is going to trade a lot better than other altcoins that have no marginal buyers, aka Solana. If you compare the ETH and Solana chart, ETH has been a lot stronger.
True.
But if you think about the game theory of the situation, and you kind of understand, or if you agree with me, this is my opinion, but I generally believe that crypto lacks marginal buyers, and anyone that wanted to buy crypto has already bought, and now we're kind of in this limbo phase where the euphoria is over, right? We had the bubble, it popped, and now we're trying to figure out, okay, like, how low can all these things go? And we're still trying to answer that question. But if Tom Lee, in the short term, is committed to buying $200 to $300 million worth of ETH every single week, then the market is also incentivized to join him, right? If he's saying this, then whenever ETH goes down, you should just probably buy that, and then he'll just bid it back up, and then you can just sell into him, right? So if you're a short-term trader, Tom Lee is just exit liquidity, right? Or I guess if you're an OG holder. Psychologically also, I call this the perceived Tom Lee safety effect, where if you know he's buying, then it becomes more comfortable, right, to own ETH.
He's really right, guys. Let's just say it out loud. The only good news about ETH right now is Tom Lee. I mean, have I not been talking about Tom Lee the last couple months positively? Being like, well, Tom Lee is the guy, like. And then honestly, like, are we talking about Ethereum tech right now? Are we talking about altcoins built on ETH? Like, are they thriving right now? What is the good news on ETH right now? And guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, I love what ETH has done for me and done for my community the last few months. But we're talking about the future here, and it's just nuts that one guy is holding up that big of an asset right now. 300 billion, is it at 300 billion right now? What's ETH at right now in terms of market cap? Let me see. What market cap is ETH at right now? Because this is insane. ETH's at 2,900 right now. It's pumping. It's at 6% in the last 24 hours, and it's a little slow. 360 billion. $360 billion market cap, and one guy is holding this up. And please interject in the comments if you can mention something else that is giving you bullish vibes about ETH. For me, for the last 120 days, it's only been Tom Lee.
Over Bitcoin or Solana, at least in the short term. So if you're playing a market bounce, you should probably own ETH. And even though I'm short ETH, I still think that, hey, like ETH is probably a better hold than other stuff, just because Tom Lee is going to continue to buy. However, we should understand that once it is clear that he's running out of money, right, ETH will dump. It's similar to how I noticed MSTR was starting to run out of money, so I just got rid of all my crypto exposure and went short. And when they actually ran out of money, or is very, very close to running out of money, the market front ran by just dumping, just dumping Bitcoin from 125 to like roughly 80K. And you can kind of see this phenomenon on chain. So there's like this Chinese whale called Garrett Bullish, and allegedly he runs other people's money, and he was short prior to the October 10th crash, and he's just been buying a lot of ETH on Hyperliquid on chain, and this is his current position. He bought over $500 million worth of ETH. He's down like roughly $40 million. I don't really think he has that strong. I mean, I don't really know what his thesis is. I don't really know him, but I'm sure part of his reasoning is because Tom Lee is buying. And of course, Tom Lee was buying and he was up a lot of money, but I think he was a little too greedy. He didn't sell. I think there's a lot of people like this where people are just buying because of Tom Lee, and at some point, I mean, this is fast money, right? They don't really want to own it. They just want to, extract P&L. I just think that the markets right now are just a bunch of rich people just PvPing each other, and there's really not that much edge to be had. I'm taking more of a longer term view, and I'm just, using this pump or the ETH pump from 26 to 3,400 as just an opportunity to add to my inverse investments into Ethereum, because not only do I get to collect funding, meaning I get to pay, I get paid a couple $100 per day shorting ETH, and I also get to farm perpetual dexes, which, as a farmer, I like to do. So, I think people like this need to get sacrificed. Maybe, who knows, maybe Tom Lee will save them. But, if he is, if Tom Lee is one of the last big marginal buyers left for ETH, it's important as a market participant to understand how much he can buy, how much he is buying, and when he will potentially stop buying.
Yeah, bro. I want to know when, if Tom Lee is holding up Ethereum, I want to know when homie runs out of money. If he's the only guy that is putting hundreds of millions of dollars into ETH right now,